Well, today is the day we waited for, and we waited patiently for a day that would be appropriate for spraying. And today looks like it's going to be a perfect time. I'm going to mix up some of the same clear that I used on the R1, and I'll show that. Here's the plan for the day, is to get this sprayed, get one coat of clear on it, let it sit for 20 minutes, put a second coat on, and then let it dry overnight. Now this is going to be a complex thing because I'm then going to have to wait 24 hours and back mask this part and then touch up that white. So this whole repair is rather complex. It's actually more complex than you think it is. But actually, while that's in the process of drying, look at what we got over here. This has been sitting up by the heating vent now overnight. And it's ready. It's definitely ready for a sand out. I don't know if I'm going to have time today because, again, this is a babysitting day. But for sure, this is going to work out great. We waited patiently. I took a chance with this, and if it got a drop of rain on it, it wouldn't be a deal breaker. We're going to sand it out. But this part, I want it to be perfect. I really wanted that to be perfect, and I think it is. So time to mix paint. Now, a great tip. We got this tip from Bob Brookins, and it has served us well over the years. Keep the hardener for all your clear. These are all our two-part clears. And this is the one we're going to use. We used that on the R1. That was really a nice wheel, the clear that came out of the R1. Keep it in the fridge, not the freezer. Just the hardener is all you have to do. And that tip, believe it or not, a little thing like that, it prolongs the amount of time you can use it for. And we've had real good luck. We've had good luck with Gavin's clear. We've had good luck with that clear over the years. Now, we've tried a lot of different clears over the years. Clears over the years, almost like a poem, right? And what I like about this particular brand, and we've tried it one time, and then we tried a couple other different ones. The Gavin's one is certainly okay. And we tried some of the real high-end ones that are about $250 a gallon. And this one, which I think is around $100 a gallon, this is, I just think, most of the time we're painting, we're under cold shop conditions. So maybe it's just that this, using the fast hardener under cold conditions, and I have a secret formula. Now, this is really secret. I have these cups that are just a little bit over an ounce, so I have to go almost to the top, as you can see. There's a secret formula. This is like the formula for Pepsi-Cola here. And then what I have is the actual clear itself, which I always do this. This is the reason I wanted to show this tip. I always have a glass jar for spaghetti or whatever comes in these jars. I never try to pour from the can because I wind up, number one, making a mess. That's number one. Now I need to have 4 units. It's 4 to 1, which really fills the gun right to the top, which is fine. We always put a sock or masking tape or something over that edge of the gun. Just remember, we're using $9 guns here. This is not bitchin' rides where you have a $200 spray gun. So you notice that, and it's convenient as can be that it works out that way. Now the extra clear, and we're not going to need this much, I can just pour this right back. It's no problem at all. And I throw this jar away. The reason for showing this then is this is one of the things that you can really have a problem with all clear. If you shake it in a bottle, in a jar, yeah, that's fine. But when you're mixing it in a spray gun, a lot of times you don't get it totally mixed the way you actually should mix it. Let me get that top back on. And of course, when I'm spraying anything that's 2 parts, I'm going to wear a mask religiously. Mixing it, yeah, I got the door wide open there and everything, but when I'm actually spraying this, you don't want to be breathing this in at all. The other paint, it's good if you wear a spray mask, but when I'm trying to talk, well, I sound pretty funny without the mask. Once I put the mask on, I turn into Darth Vader. Anyway, what I'm suggesting you do here, And it took me a while to realize this material doesn't mix the first time you turn, you shake it or whatever. Because a lot of times what I had was that the material takes longer than necessary to dry. This should be almost dry to the touch in about 20 minutes. Almost dry. Then you put the second coat on. And you never put the second coat on after an hour. It either goes on 20 minutes after, and that's important stuff to know, at least with this brand. Now the Gavin's clear, they tell you, and I've asked the tech guy down at Gavin's too, Stevie Wonder, the guy that mixes the paint, or is it Ray Charles? I'm trying to remember. But the guy at Gavin's has told me that the Gavin's brand of clear, you don't have to worry. You can put it on an hour and a half, 2 hours. Well, but I just figured, why get too cute? You would want to put it on that way anyway. So now I allow for the fact that in cold weather, it's going to go just a little bit slower. So I'll say a half hour, but not more than an hour. So I've already looked at the clock. I've already got my time window down. And I don't put the part outside until it's absolutely the last minute. So it stays in the house where it's about 65 degrees in the shop here. And the whole idea is I want the part to be warm, not hot. When I was doing Turbo Steve's fairing parts, what I was doing, and this is only to keep, because these guns are so cheap, they bleed. If you spend more money on a gun, you save money on tape. That protects it just a little bit. But anyway, to make a long story short here, I wanted to show this at least once in the course. This can now go in the garbage. We're done with this. That can go back in the refrigerator, and this I always put outside because I don't want the smell in the house. It's just a question of the smell. So we're actually ready to put the part outside, spray it, wait a half hour, put a second coat on, and put it in the garage to dry. And it will have to dry 24 hours before we do the next step. Now what I wound up doing, because it's a beautiful sunny day, bright and sunny, it's about 40 degrees, so the paint this should just be perfect. Here's the problem though. It's already started, the wind has started to blow, so what I'm trying to do is, by the wind having to go around the house here, this is kind of a dead zone, lets me get a nicer coat of paint on. Now I just have to jig the tank up. Okay, it looks like the first coat is on. That looks like it laid out real nice, and it's to our advantage that the sun is beating right on it, that's for sure. They'll make it a little warmer than 40 degrees normally would be. So now it's a question of waiting 20 minutes to a half hour. As soon as that tacks out, get a second coat on. I don't want to make a big buildup. I don't want to make it that I have 20 coats or like decoupage the whole thing. That's not the purpose, because we're going to put more clear on this after we backmask it and do the white touch-up. So it's kind of a sophisticated touch-up, but something maybe you could pick up some tips from.
Okay, this will be interesting. The wind is really starting to blow now. It never can just stay there. Yeah, that's perfect. I think that's going to be just fine.
Now, I'm not trying to get a lot of a heavy buildup here. I just want to protect that sticker while we do the rest of the backmasking. But that definitely will have to dry 24 hours. It's warming up. It's actually over 40 degrees now. So I think that's going to be fine in the garage. And we'll let that sit there overnight, bring it in and put it by a heating vent. Now I see from the thermometer it's about 45 degrees out here, so that should be just perfect. Perfect. And I'm glad we waited. I guess the lesson here is not to be impatient with all of these jobs. just not to be impatient. Here's just one perfect example. The wheels on that R1 that we just finished, I'm so glad I didn't rush them through. They are just like coming out to the garage, and I really enjoy that that I didn't rush the job. It took a long time, and it really came out nice. I think it did anyway. Anyway, I have about an hour left here before I have to go get the baby. I'm going to work on Steve's parts. Now, another thing that I constantly have to be aware of, at least with this gun, I want to keep it clean, because I use this is usually a gun I use to spray clear. And what I do is, when I run out all the paint, when the paint is done, and it doesn't spray anymore, then I wipe it with a paper towel, which I've already done, clean it, cap, and then I'll take acetone. This is just ordinary acetone. And I'll run about a half a gun, just about a half a gun of acetone through there. See, if you don't have that tape on there, it drips and leaks and everything. But now, if I take this outside and run that acetone through, that does a better job of cleaning it than urethane thinners does. I think so anyway. And the other thing I try to do then is leave it about half full of acetone and put it away for the next job. Once it's clean, so it's always ready to go. And I always get people that ask me, modelers and motorcyclists too, yeah, how do you get away with using this cheap equipment? Well, I'm not sure, but I do. Now, this is the trick I wanted to show, and I showed Glenn this many times. Other people that have sprayed here. You want to run, I want to run, I see it dripping out already. I want to run that first thing of acetone through there, but I want to put my finger over the tip of the gun. Don't put your nose there, because it blows back. What this does, it loosens anything you've got in that transfer tube. If there's some paint material in there, and of course, every once in a while, these guns don't last forever. I think the thing is that for $9, they don't have to last forever. The thinner you would normally use to clean them costs more than a new gun. So the time I have left in this work session, because we do have a lot of other things to do today, I wanted to take some 220 sandpaper, and I wanted to just grind this down and maybe get a third coat of primer on it. There's still some rough spots on here, and you'll see what will happen is they'll come right up as soon as you start sanding, as soon as you start blocking. Well, this is a soft block, but even this will bring up the bad spots. So we've got 2 coats of primer on here already. And again, this is just one of those things, just labor. You can watch a football game or whatever while you're doing it. As soon as I get this smooth and I'm happy with it, I'll put on that last coat of primer, and then we'll be ready to see what Steve has. I think he's going to want to use Glenn's paint, but he said he changed his mind once already. So, like all of us, yeah, see, this is my point, this is what I wanted to make. If you look, you can still, even after sanding, you can see the low spots in that finish. So there's going to have to be a lot of material come off of there. That's for sure. I may need to get some primer filler. I don't know, depending on that final finish that Steve wants. But that's just going to be, now we get into that thing of it's a labor of love. Now, as I'm coming down a home stretch on this part, I can see that where we did the body work. And that's what my main concern was, where we had done the body work. As it starts to come through, let me just show this. Again, I'm being real aggressive because I want these parts to really look nice. No matter what finish we pick, having a part nice and smooth is the key to success here, no matter what. But see, now I can see, now I've got to be a little careful here if I can show this. Where that part is actually, you can see the bodywork starting to come through. Not the bodywork, but the the plastic. So I know that's about as far as we can go until we get another coat of primer on there. Now before I put the next coat of primer on here, I wanted to show just how far down we've gotten. And this has been a lot of work, getting all these little divots filled. But this is the bad part too. This is the one that was in 5 different pieces or whatever. So we're working on building up a nice substrate finish here. So far that's coming out great. I'm going to run outside, get a coat of primer on it. And the only thing wrong with today is the wind is definitely blowing. Now from this point on, I think we're going to be able to sand this with, if we need one more coat with some 600, we won't need the 220 anymore. We've gotten most of the body work actually came out pretty good on this. I want to get just a nice light coat because we're basically done filling. I want to build a nice smooth edge on this now. And this is the bad part. This is the part that really needed the most work. Now, normally I wouldn't use primer this way. I'm actually using it to fill in those gouges, but I was afraid if I'd sanded too much into the plastic, this part might get to be too skinny or too thin or be prone to vibration. I think this is the lesser of two evils, but obviously we're going to find out when Steve mounts it back on a bike and does his first big wheelie. Now this is our other piece, and this I thought was going to go a lot quicker. The reality is it didn't go a lot quicker. Even though we don't have any real heavy-duty bodywork on this, it still needs a lot of elbow grease. And I'm still seeing, every time I wipe it down, I'm seeing little spots that still have to be sanded. And this is still with 220 paper, so we're really taking off a lot of material here, that's for sure. But I'm going to put one, for sure, going to put one more coat on this of primer. And I think we're going to have it in some short amount of time. Everything just takes longer than you ever thought it would. That's the way all this work goes. But boy, when you're done and the part is done and it's on the bike like those silver wheels on the R1, once the job is done and it's polished and you're happy with it and you got your carnauba wax on it, you forget all about today. You don't even think about it. You don't give it a thought. Now, I want to do one other trick. For sure, before you reprime, I want to resand every edge so I have no razor blade edges on the part. Because that's where paint tends to chip, peel. If you can radius these edges, you're so much ahead of the game. And I like being ahead of the game. I like stacking the deck in my favor. And even then, sometimes a stone hits it or something chips or cracks or who knows what. But because the problem with these bikes, all of the people that I work on their bikes, these are not show bikes. They're going to be babied and put on a trailer or something. We ride these bikes and we ride them in the winter when there's salt on the road and birds are pooping on them and who knows what. Old ladies are throwing stuff at us. Anyway, once this is dried up, I think we're pretty, that's what I wanted to show. Because that would be the question most people would ask is how much sanding to do, and you can see the black parts coming through in various spots. That's ready for some primer. Dry it up. That'll be ready for one more coat of primer. Angle, you can see it a little bit better how much we got material removed. And it will be ready for the next coat of primer. Well, and if you think this isn't dirty work, as soon as you're done with this, throw it right in the laundry, and don't put it in with your girlfriend or your wife's white blouse. We do a separate load of dirty laundry, work clothes, and whatever. A separate load, of course. Now it's actually a big asset that we have some sun today, and we haven't seen the sun in so long. And actually, this could easily be a riding day if we didn't have work to do. But we do enjoy both ends of motorcycling. Now I want to make sure, because I've radiused all these edges off, I want to make sure I get those edges. Ooh, and see, the wind is really kicking up now. This morning it wasn't so bad, but it's pretty bad now. Nasty. And you're probably wondering, does he ever drop the part? You bet. We are not pitching a no-hitter here, trust me. And a lot of times it really adds a lot of work to the job. It's a problem. But anyway. Now this coat of primer we should be able to sand with some nice 400, 600, something smooth. And we have enough material on here to make, and we've got enough material in the divots to make a what I hope is going to be a really nice substrate. And you wouldn't think small parts like this, you look at them, even that little aluminum cowl thing that goes in between, you think, oh, this spray piece. It's a lot of work. It's that thing I always say, it's a labor of love. If you're not in love with your motorcycle, this is probably not worth doing. And so we really wound up, this really was a great day. Not a good day, a great day. We are ready for Turbo Steve to come over and pick out the paint he wants to use on the finish on this. Maybe do the final sanding with 600. It'll be an hour, hour and a half or so. We're going to be ready. Next time we get to work on this, we're going to be able to flip this, back mask this piece, flip it, do the white, maybe with an airbrush, and then get some clear down at the bottom, put that aside to dry, do a final buffing on a tank a couple days later. But right now we're going to be in drying mode, and it has really turned out to be a nice day. This, after the weather we've had, and all these bikes, they're sitting here saying, hey, how about taking me for a ride? Hey, it's time to go for a ride. Oh, yeah, well, like I said, we do enjoy both sides of motorcycling, working on them and riding them. Hope you enjoy watching. Thanks, of course, for watching, and hopefully we'll see this project come to fruition in the next week or so.